Welcome to a brand new video. Today we'll be using OpenAI's GPT-3 to create some amazing application. OpenAI, it says here on the website, it has trained cutting-edge language models that are very good at understanding and generating text. Our API provides access to these models and can be used to solve virtually any task that involves processing language. I'm going to skip past most of this. Maybe suggest one name for Black Horse so I can run that for you. Control Enter. Midnight, give you a few names. Suggest 3 names for a horse that is a superhero. Let's run that for you as well. Captain America, Thor, Hawk. Alright, so what is OpenAI? What is GPT-3? Right, GPT-3, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and the 3 comes from this being the third version of that. So Generative Pre-trained Transformer 3, GPT-3. This is a new language model created by OpenAI. So I'm actually on the OpenAI website right now. It says here that the concepts and techniques that are fundamental to using the API for tasks, including content generation, summarization, classification, categorization, sentiment analysis, data extraction, translation, many more. So essentially what you have here is a model that is, or a family of models that is able to generate written text of such quality that is often difficult to distinguish them between text written by that of a computer versus that written by a human. It is a highly advanced language model trained on a very large corpus of text. Now I want to say that as we run through some of this experiment and later on we're going to open up a code editor and we're going to write some code, launch a GPT app, that GPT-3 is, first of all, you need to know that it's non-deterministic, meaning in the sense that given the same input, you're going to get different runs of the engine will return different outputs. So when I run it on a code example or an experiment, and you're going to try and emulate that on your machine, you probably you may get different results. So in other words, all the experiments you see me perform in this video, they may yield different results on your machine. So what we'll be doing in this video is to go through a number of OpenAI examples by running them from a Flask app, and then we'll create our own model with some training data in the hopes of generating beautiful ad slogans. Who knows, you may even turn this to a web software and generate some income from this product. And we're going to build a text to math equation translator, so that would allow us to write some English text, and it would generate the math latex of corresponding formula for that. And the second experiment we're going to build is an analogies generator, so it'll give you an analogies, and we'll see that in a second. And the third one is an email generator, so I want to essentially be able to write something like, I want to be able to say something like, write a thank you email to Doris and thank her for her service to the company. And then the email generator will go ahead and generate a nice email from me that I can copy and paste and send it to Doris. Right, so that's an email generator. You can write something like, tell mom that I'm going to be late this Saturday, right? And it will generate an email, say, hi mom, stuff, I'm going to be late, give you a reason, and then generate that for you. You can copy and paste that back into the email app, right? So that's an email generator. And finally, we're going to build something from scratch. We're going to write our own ad slogan generator. So this is a cool idea. If you want to build a SaaS, software as a service, maybe think of something fun. Ad slogan generator is kind of, I want to say that I want to generate an ad for a mayor. I want to generate an ad for a city. I want to generate an ad for a fast food chain. I want to generate an ad for a sports shoes, athletic brand, any kind of thing. And we want GPT-3 to return to us a nice slogan that we can use. So this could be new ideas, for social media, for advertising campaigns and stuff. I'm not a marketer, so I won't know a great deal about what makes a good ad slogan, but I trust GPT-3 is gonna do the job for me. If you've been away from Earth for a while and you've never heard of GPT-3, let me spend 30 seconds to give you getting you up to speed. I have this Twilio.io blog ultimate guide. So Twilio.com is a good company. The ultimate guide to OpenAI's GPT-3 language model. So it's a new language model created by OpenAI that is able to generate written text of such quality it's often difficult to differentiate from text written by a human. And how good is it really? They tried to run an experiment using only 2 paragraphs that were generated by the GPT-3 engine to describe itself after training just by showing it the first paragraph of the GPT-3 article on Wikipedia. So you're giving it 1 paragraph of the GPT-3 article on Wikipedia, and then you're asking it to generate 2 other paragraphs describing itself. So describing the GPT-3 article, engine itself. And here it comes up with this. So this is exactly what GPT-3 produced with no editing. So GPT-3 is a deep neural network that uses the attention mechanism to predict the next word in a sentence. It is trained on a corpus of over 1 billion words and can generate text at a character level accuracy. And encoder, decoder, is on par with the best language models for text generation, which is significantly better than previous GPT models. Microsoft Turing NLG model can generate text at a character level accuracy on a test set of Wikipedia articles, but requires an enormous amount of training data to do so. OpenAI claims that GPT-3 can achieve this level of performance without any additional training data after its initial pre-training period. So that's kind of it. So when you first research about GPT-3, one thing we come across is people keep telling you how huge the training data is for GPT-3 and how humongous the scale of the model itself and the parameters itself. But just to give you a sense of how huge it actually is, let me give you a quick timeline of things, right? On August 20, 2019, OpenAI first released a partial version of GPT-2. So GPT-2 has 774 million parameters, roughly half the size of the full 1.5 billion parameters model, all right? So that's the partial version of GPT-2, the full version of that 1.5 billion parameter model. But in GPT-3, which is the one that we're going to be using today, it has 175 billion parameters with a B, right? So it has 175 billion parameters. That's astronomical, and it's trained on 570 gigabytes of text. So to put things in perspective, its predecessor, GPT-2, was over 100 times smaller at 1.5 billion parameters. So even at 1.5 billion parameters, this is 100 times smaller. This is 175 billion parameters, GPT-3. So it's absolutely massive. In spite of this internal complexity, it is actually surprisingly easy to operate. You feed it some text, the model generates some more text, following a similar style and structure from the training data that you pass into it. So to give you a quick start, I'm going to be using this repository, Shreya Shankar. Shreya has created a repository called GPT-3 sandbox. And it says that the goal of this project is to enable users to create cool web demos using the newly released OpenAI GPT-3. Even though the initial release date is 2020, it says that this repository is not under any active development, just basic maintenance. But it's good enough for our needs, all right? So if you have a GitHub account, then you probably want to go ahead and just fork it. I've already done that, so I have my own refresh and merge done. So really what you need to do is to just go to Shreya Shankar's repository here, click on fork. That will give you your own. And then once you're in there, let me just refresh my page a little bit, make sure that everything is fine. All right, so that's 1 hour ago. Okay, cool. And now we can open up our terminal and get started. Okay, so you want to navigate to a directory wherever you want. I could be on the desktop because I'm going to delete this after that anyway. I already have one that I'm actually working on, so I'm going to go on my desktop, kind of a storage area for all these temporary files, experiments and stuff. All right, so go to my desktop. You can go to anywhere you pick, and I'm going to just go ahead and say git clone, and I'm going to pass in the URL. So in this case here, that's going to be the GPT-3-sandbox, and it's going to clone into GPT-3-sandbox. So that's the name that is from this GPT-3-sandbox. So I'm just gonna wait for it to clone, and I'm gonna speed up the video a little bit. Okay, now that it's done, you just wanna move into that directory and do a quick ls just to see what are the files, and you will see that there's API, package.json, examples. What you're really interested in is to install all the dependencies first. But if you want to do this in a very contained way, then I recommend you use a virtual environment. For me, I have a virtual environment, and that's analyst. So I just activate my virtual environment. If you don't know what it is, then either go read up about what virtual environments are, or just ignore that for now and just install it. Right? So I'm gonna go ahead now and install the requirements, and let me make sure that it is listing the file in API. So I have an API folder. I'm gonna say list API, and I see that there's a requirements.txt. So do a quick list on an API directory to see what's in there, and we see requirements.txt. That sounds interesting. Let's take a look at what is required. So let's do a CAT. I'm using BAT to print that out with nicer syntax coloring and stuff, but you can use CAT. But I'm gonna say API requirements.txt, and this is what we see. We have the asteroid certified. Okay, so these are all very Flask-like stuff. So as long as you install Flask, you have most of this stuff. Same thing for Ginger, same thing for markup safe, same thing for it's dangerous, and then you have OpenAI, and I think that's about it. If you install Flask and you install OpenAI, it should give you maybe 90% of everything in here. Python.env is interesting. That's also what we need. But that's kind of it actually. So if you're happy with what you're seeing here, go ahead and install that. To install all of this stuff from the requirements file and pin it to a certain version, you would just do something like pip install, and this is the path here. So you're gonna say API requirements.txt, but because this is gonna be installing each one of them recursively, so one, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, then you want to put a -r. So that's gonna say pip install -r recursively API/requirements.txt, and you run that. It may take you a second, but after all of that is done, clear the screen. For me, if my environment already have exactly those things, then it won't do anything. But in your case, it may try and take 1 to 2 minutes depending on how fast your internet connection is, but essentially wait for all the dependencies to be fully downloaded. And then now let's take a look at the front end dependencies, the React side of dependencies. So print ls again, there is the package.json. So let's print that out and see what's the content of that. Okay, so this is package.json. What we want to look for is the dependencies here. So we see that we have Bootstrap, Axios, Lodash, and React. So all of these comes with React. Okay, all of this comes with React as well. Then there's the Bootstrap, there's the Lodash, and there's the Axios. Axios is just to make API calls here and there. If you don't want to use that, you want to use Fetch API, you can do that as well. I'm not gonna really worry about any of this. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a yarn install. So do a yarn install, it's gonna look at all the dependencies and it's gonna install all of them. So give it a second, I'm gonna speed up the video and then come back. Finally, let's print the file again. Alright, we have all of this. That's cool, but I want to create a file immediately because I want to put my secret API, I want to put my OpenAPI secret onto this file so I don't accidentally commit that onto GitHub or whatever, right? So I want to go ahead and say touch.env, and that's going to create an environment file. Now to show you what needs to go into the environment file, you only need one thing really. You only need the OpenAPI secret key. So you could go ahead and open that up in your favorite editor, and then what you need to do is to have something like OpenAPI. You don't need to name it exactly the way I have it here, but whatever makes sense to you. I like to just keep it like open secret key so I know very explicitly what I want. And then here you put in a secret key, and this is gonna look like something like, it's gonna look like something like this, some random string. All right, now where do you get this OpenAPI secret key? So once you're invited into the beta, you will see the API keys. Go to beta.openapi.com and then go to account, go to API keys. May have to zoom out a little bit just to see the full thing. And then from here you have view API keys. So click on that, view API keys. There are a bunch of, you can see other members in here, and there are a few other options. Go ahead and just copy that. All right, you can, if you don't have an API key, then just create a new secret API key. Now these are very private. You don't want to share your API key because they protect the security of your account, right? OpenAPI may also automatically rotate any API key that we found has leaked publicly. So you also want to make sure that this doesn't go onto GitHub or anywhere where you start a project. And it's also important for the building purpose itself, because when you look at your usage, this is how much cost you incur. So this, you'll find a summary of API usage for your organizations, and you will see how much you gotta spend every day, depending on how much usage is tied to your API key. So you want to make sure that you have not shared this API key with anyone else apart from yourself, right? So just click on copy, and then once you've done that, hop back into the terminal and paste that back in here, right? So it may look some random strings like I don't know, like something like this, right? And then go ahead and save that. If you're using Vim, you just put the W, you put a WQ. So write and quit. And finally, once you've set up that, if you want to just confirm that, you can say cat.env. You want to see that you have exactly that, the OpenAPI secret key, and you put that in there, right? So I'm going to skip that process so I don't reveal my secret key in public. And now we can finally open up Visual Studio Code. So let's do that. And we will open that up in the current directory. So let's do code dot. Okay, once you're in your Visual Studio Code, almost the first thing I want to do is I want to look at my git ignore. I'm very paranoid, so I want to make sure that my env file is git ignored. If this is not there, you want to add that in there. So you want to put .env to make sure that your secret key is hidden, and when you commit that to GitHub, it's not going to go anywhere on GitHub, right? Then the next thing is to just take a look at the examples and the API. So let's go in API and let's take a look at the demo web app. And the reason I look at demo web app is that if you look at an example, for example, opening up this one, you will see that at the very end of it, and you will see demo web app. Now, demo web app is brought in from the API, which means to really know what's happening here, we need to look at what's happening here first. All right, so demo web app, and that's the reason we start from there, demo web app. And then I'm gonna set my interpreter, and I'm gonna go to analyst, which is the environment where all of this are installed. All right, and this is not even used, so I could even just delete that. I'm not sure why it's there, but not even used, we could delete that. All right, anyway, we're gonna make a few changes. So at the top, I like to put import OS. So all of these are the standard libraries. I like to put all of them in here. Then OpenAI is not really a standard library. I like to put them on the second line. But that's just me. .env, that's something we need in order to load the variables from here. So let's also bring that in. I'm gonna say from .env import load.env. All right. Maybe I'm gonna bring this down here, and that's that looks about right to me. And then you have the GPT. This is the set open API key example. Okay, that's okay. But we're not gonna have these two. Instead, we're gonna say load.env. So what this is gonna do is to bring in any environment that we specify in our .env. So if you have a ton of variables in the .env file, I apologize, I don't think you can see it here. So if you have a ton of things from the .env file, then that's when you this load.env is gonna do that. It's gonna just load that in so your app can find them, right? So I'm gonna bring this back here. A little bit of a screen real estate, and then we're gonna create our OpenAPI key by loading it from this function. So we're gonna go ahead and say OpenAPI key, and we're gonna say os.getEnv. And what is the name of the key here? So I remember that I told you to name it OpenAPI key, so I'm gonna say OpenAPI secret key. So this, I imagine that you have a file. I'm gonna call it .env2 to not mess with that. And I imagine that in here you have something like OpenAPI secret key, and you have something like SK, and then a bunch of things, yeah. I don't know what that is, but here, because you name it OpenAPI secret key, that's why we're not gonna want to save that. That's why this is where you try to get os.getF and you put the key name itself. So that's what we specified earlier. So I'm gonna delete this right away, just gonna show you a demo there. Then let's scroll down a little bit. We have the flask. Okay, these two are gonna throw an error. So what we want, okay, we don't need this, but what we want is change this and put this, swap this in here. So there's OpenAPI key, gets it from here. This works because we load env, but this works because we brought that in, and that's kind of it. I think that makes sense. OS is here, right? Okay, cool. And so now that we have a running functional demo web app, if we go back to the latex app, it will work now because it calls demo web app and it brings it in from here from API import demo web app. So I think we're ready to run our demo. So I would just use Control Backtick to open up the terminal. And once I'm in the terminal, I will have a few examples that I can run. Let's start from the latex app. So maybe before we do that even, let's open that up. Let's modify a couple of things here. So here, instead of text to equation, I want to say text to latex. Latex AI equation, right? And I want to say, instead of translate, I want to say generate latex. You can also have translate if you want to, and this is still going to be fine. I'm going to save that. Okay, so save all of that. And then I want to run this example. So in Flask, to run this particular example, I can just use the built-in server, development server, and I can say Python examples. This is the directory, and I can find whichever one I run here. So this one is the run latex app. So I'm going to say run latex app.py. I'm going to hit enter, and now it's going to say, oh, it's running. So I can bring this Windows up a little bit higher. Right. So it says text to latex AI equation. So that's what we specify here, right? We have the text to latex AI equation. And now you can just try and experiment. You can say generate latex, and you say x squared plus 2 times x, and it will generate that for you. Let's try a couple of things. Let's maybe try the log of 3 times x to the power of 4. You know, or maybe just make it difficult, make it 4. So if you mix and match it, for example, this one is 3, here I'm going to say 4, see what happened. You can try that like this, and you can say generate latex, and let's see what it generates for us. So it generates that. Nice. We can copy and paste this into our editor, and it will generate the latex, render that into the valid equation. You could try and maybe change that up, minus 11. So here I'm using 4. I spell it out. Here I'm going to just put a numeric 11 and can generate that and see what happens. Great. So yeah, it's doing its job. We can try a couple more. We can try the sum from 0 to 6 of x squared plus 1, right? So this will generate the nice sum, and then from 0, and then when I equals 0, and then go all the way to when I equals 6, and then for each one of them x squared plus 1. All right, that's cool. Or you can also do something like f of x squared equals 1 over log of y. Or if you want to maybe even make it more complex, you can say if y equals to 1 or if x equals to 1. If x is 1, otherwise 3. So if x is 1, then perform this f of x squared equals 1 over log of y. If x is 1, otherwise 3, right? So let's do that. Generate latex, And you have that at the begin, then there's the cases and stuff. If you're very familiar with writing math equations in papers and stuff, these are very familiar to you. If you don't know what this is doing, that's fine. But you can use it as a translator app. You can have English to Bahasa, you can have English to Latin to Spanish, German. Essentially generates language based on a few training examples there. So it looks at what are some training examples, it learns from that, and it generates that. So where is all the magic happening? Here are all the examples. So you give you a simple example, 2 plus 2 equals 4. You're saying that if you see this, then learn how to generate that. If you see this, learn how to generate that. If you see this, learn how to generate that. And it teaches you a couple of, and once it's done learning from this, you can also set some temperature and max tokens. We'll talk about that later when we try to generate our own app from scratch. All right. So I'm going to terminate that right now. I don't need that. Let's take a look at another example. Let's say run analogies underscore app.py. So I'm going to say run analogies. And this is why it's so beautiful to just start with this sandbox. So great work with regards to what's being done here by Shreya. So much appreciation to all of these examples that she's created. We're going to create our own later, but let's run through some examples here first. So run analogies app.py. So let's run that. And it's going to try and put up a local host server. All right. Analogies generator. Memes are like something, all right? So you can try that. Let's take a look at the examples here. These are the examples we fit. We said neural networks are like, and then it's gonna return this. Social media is like, and it's gonna return this. Haskell is like, and then it's gonna return that. Quaternions, I don't know what that even is, but okay, let's not worry about that. I'm gonna say YouTube. All right, YouTube is like, because we're making this for YouTube video, and let's do that. So YouTube is like what? Let's see. YouTube is like a library in that both provide access to a large collection of videos. Well, that's very meaningful. That's good. That's accurate. All right. Maybe try something else. Let's see what AI thinks about Hollywood. Right. So let's see what AI truly thinks of Hollywood when it takes over the world one day. What is it gonna perceive Hollywood to be? Let's generate that. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, Hollywood is like, wow. Very accurate, I would say. A far more accurate understanding of how Hollywood works than most people in Hollywood, let alone those outside of it. Hollywood is like the video game industry in that both are industries that produce products that are often derided as mindless entertainment. Okay, this is so one day when AI takes over the world, this is what it's gonna think. It's gonna think, this is not useful for human beings. Let's maybe completely erase that. Let's run that again. Hollywood is like generate again. Let's see. Hollywood is like politics in that both are systems in which a group of people try to achieve goals that are not all shared by all of the members of the group. So it really intimately understands Hollywood. I think this is a far better description of Hollywood than anyone has ever produced for me. And it's hard to imagine that this is all generated through just a few training examples in here, right? Of course, it has a big corpus behind it, but it sounds very human-like. Hollywood is like Silicon Valley in that both are centers of the entertainment industry, except one is producing all this mindless entertainment and the other one is probably also producing a lot of mindless entertainment. I mean, the fact that I'm doing this for you, it's kind of that's that. Let's run one last time. Okay, both of standards of innovation. All right, that's fair. Okay, moving back into our IDE, let's terminate that. It's been fun. And let's try and take a look at maybe a command to email app. That would be cool, I think. So there is examples. Thanks, John, for the book. Okay, dear John, thank you for the book. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and quickly swap out this to be my name. So Samuel, and here I'm also gonna take that. Bill Johnson, no, that's gonna be Samuel. So it's gonna be my name. Sincerely, Emily Fields, nope. Sincerely, Samuel, or maybe just Sam, and best Samuel, right? All right. If you want to, you could add your own example. So for example, I could add a new example that is specific to my use case, to how I would use that app, for example. So I'm going to show you one. I'm going to say add example, and I'm going to say example here. And here I want to say that inform the team that I will be out of office. So I want to say inform the team that I will be OOO to make YouTube videos all weekend. This week. All weekend sounds a little bit all right. So, and then now you have to pass in, this is the input, then you want to pass in the output. You want to say that if you tell GPT-3 to do this, inform a team that I'll be OOO to make YouTube videos this week, then what should the output be from this training example? All right. So I could say something like, dear team, I am sorry to inform you that I will be out of office this week. I will be making YouTube videos and will be unable to attend any weekly meetings. I will be back next week. You can say love and kisses, but of course we reserve that kind of language from our workplace, so we're gonna just say best. Very formal, best Samuel. All right. Love and kisses work fine. If you want an emoji, it's fine, right? XOXO is fine too. So I'm gonna say that's an example. I'm gonna save that. So now it has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 examples. That's good enough. And then description is gonna be that generate email. Right, just say generate email. Right, cool. And now it's gonna run that. Let's say run command to email app.py, starting the development server, compiled successfully. Command to email generator. Cool. And now we have the generate email, which is from this button text. And let's see what we want to say. So if you want to test your example earlier, you can write something similar to that, but you don't want to be exactly that, because then you want to test whether it actually learned the pattern or not, right? So you don't want to write exactly the same thing. So in the training example, we say inform the team that will be to make YouTube videos this week. But you want to try and change things up a little bit. So you want to say something like maybe inform, instead of the team, say inform super type that I will be this Friday till next week to focus on making YouTube videos. And notice that I'm just gonna use I hope that you understand that it's out of office, and Friday till next week, that's also a new condition. In the training example, I didn't mention about that. To focus on making, I could make YouTube cooking videos. Right, so I decided that okay, programming is not making good enough money. Nobody's gonna watch my videos, don't have enough views, don't have enough subscribers, so I'm gonna switch to making YouTube cooking videos. So I'm gonna generate email and see what happened here. Alright, it says, dear Supertype, I'm sorry to inform you that I'll be out of office this Friday till next week. Alright, so this is this condition here. I will be making YouTube cooking videos and will be unable to attend any weekly meetings. So it add some flowery language here. I'll be back next week. Best Samuel. So yeah, I mean it's not bad. It's pretty simplistic, pretty straightforward. But with more training examples, you feel like it has a lot of potential. It could maybe do something even better. But up to this point, it's pretty cool. It's it does what it needs to. I could just copy that, paste it into my email, send it out to everyone, and it also understands out of office. That's that. So it's cool. I think it's alright. Alright. So it's not mind blowing, but with just 5 simple examples here, it kind of learned the pattern enough for me to do that. And by the way, if you're watching up to this point and you still not subscribed to the channel, I literally just took a whole Friday and my weekend till next week. So you're gonna help me, alright? You're gonna help me out here. Let's try one more. I wanna say something like, okay, tell my subscribers that I appreciate their support. You can see how desperate I am. The trick is not look too desperate, but okay, let's generate email and let's see what it says here. Dear subscribers, I want to thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. I hope to make more videos soon. Sincerely, Samuel. That's pretty cool. Like, I didn't even say any of that. I actually just said tell my subscribers that I appreciate the support, and here it's coming up with, I hope to make more videos soon, and I think it's pretty cool. Alright, so I think at this point we've covered some very cool demo. I think it's about time for us to write our own stuff from scratch. So let's terminate this. So to write something from scratch, I'm gonna go ahead and just create a new file. You could just right click new file. You could also just say touch and create a new file, whichever one you prefer. And let's just stick to this one. And I'm gonna say run. What is the project we're trying to create here? We're trying to create a generator for slogans, for motto, for taglines. I don't know. But let's go ahead and say add slogan.py. And I have run add slogan.py. I'm gonna go into the run blank example.py and I'm gonna copy almost all of that. Just gonna copy all of that and I'm gonna paste it in here at slogan. Alright. So these are very, very standard Python stuff. Import OS, import sys.path.append. Very, very simple stuff. And then there's the GPT engine. Okay, so let's talk about this. GPT engine diversity, temperature, max tokens. Let's talk about temperature first. Now, temperature controls the randomness of the generated text. The higher the temperature is, the crazier what gets spit out. So the more random the output is. So if you want something truly outlandish, you want to change the temperature to be slightly higher, right? So a value of 0 makes the engine very deterministic. Every time you put in that input, it's going to give you exactly that output with very little random noise. A value of 0, basically no random noise, which means that it will always generate the same output for a given input, all right? So it's very deterministic. Anything above that, anything above 0 is non-deterministic. So a value of 1 makes the engine take the most risk, and in which case it generates the most outlandish, the most outrageous text, and it may also end up with the most creative text as well. So temperature is something you can control here. Max tokens is the maximum completion length. So how many words do you want in the completion, right? So that's the engine DaVinci. So let's take a look at what that means. I'm gonna open up my browser now again just to show you. So it says so it gives us a few pricing options here. Multiple models, each with different capabilities and price points. Ada is the fastest model. DaVinci is the most powerful. Prices up at 1,000 tokens. That's 1,000 words. Pieces of words, where 1,000 tokens is about 750 words. So they're not exactly words, but they are kind of pieces that form a word, right? So the paragraph is about 35. This paragraph is 35 tokens. And in here, you can see the model in itself, and you can see the different price points here. So DaVinci is the most expensive. It's about 3 cents per 1,000 tokens. Ada, it's about the cheapest, that's 1,000 tokens, and then that's only 0.004. So there are altogether 4 of them: A, B, C, D, Ada, Babbage, Curie, DaVinci. And you can look at which model should I use. It says here, well, DaVinci is generally the most capable models. The other models can perform certain tasks extremely well, and in some cases significantly faster. They also have cost advantages. For example, Curie can perform many of the same tasks as DaVinci, but faster and for 1/10 of the cost. So we encourage developers to experiment to find a model that's most efficient for your application, right? So this is something that you definitely want to experiment with, especially if you try and make this into a full-fledged app and people are going to use your service, and you're going to be paying through the roof if you just pick the most powerful model all the time. So you don't want that necessarily. You want to make sure that you experiment with that, make sure that this is exactly what you need, all right? Or at least the one that is best fitted for your use cases. So we're gonna go back to our sandbox experiment here, and we're gonna try and see what we need and what we don't need. All right, so GPT, that's DaVinci, that's temperature, that's okay. So I explained that already, and then there's an example here. So to save you some time, I pre-written some of these training tags, so I don't have to write them while you see me typed it out. I'm gonna paste all of that in here. And so that's my example. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are some very outrageous slogans or ads, all right? So they're not exactly outrageous, but they are a bit hyperbole. So you see, like ads for shoes, I'm gonna say shoes so comfortable you want to walk in them. I mean, all shoes you want to walk in them. So this is kind of a meaningless tagline. Ads for barber, hair so slick you can stare into a mirror all day. Ads for fries so good you can't handle it. Sunglasses so cool you would wear them indoor. Ads for theme park, rides so fun you can enjoy it with your boss. So nobody wants to go on a theme park with their boss, but the rides are so fun you could actually enjoy it with your boss. Ads for politicians. So I lived in Singapore for about 11 years. So country so corruption free you would make Singapore jealous. So Singapore that has a reputation of being very corruption free, very well run, and the government is generally pretty well loved by the people. So here, ads for politician is like trying to make, you know how you have to make America great again. So this is like a slogan. It's like country so corruption free, you make Singapore jealous, right? So let's try and have that description. I'm gonna change this to ad slogan generator. Result, I'm gonna just say create slogan. And placeholder, no, I'm gonna say ask for like ads for hats or something. So whatever, right? Show example form, we can keep it true right now, but we can also turn it off. I'll show you what the difference is. So let me keep it true right now, and I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to try and run my demo web app. So I'm going to say Python and run at slogan.py, enter, and now let's see what happens here. So notice that because I have the show example form equals to true, I'm going to see all the examples, all the example input output in here. And I can change them, I can delete them, I can change this to another results if I want to. So all the inputs output, you can also customize the training directly from the form. So that's really beautiful. You can train it directly in the web app. You don't have to do it within the IDE itself. So if you actually set this to be show example form equals to true, then that is going to give you all of this. And you can delete example, you can train more examples, but you can also add more examples. Now there's the add slogan generator. So this is where we're going to try and change things. So what do we have? We have shoes, barbers, fries, sunglasses, theme parks, politicians. So what if we try something like mayor? ads for mayor. So we're not trying to run for the country, you're just trying to run for city. Let's create slogan. Let's see what happens here. Look at that. That kind of pick up the vibe, you know. So it says city so clean you wouldn't mind eating off the floor. Because the thing about our the thing about our slogans here are that if you look at our IDEs, the training examples are a little bit outrageous, a little bit hyperbolic, a little bit more towards the creative, the outlandish themes. So kind of the more outlandish kind of themes. And here it picks that up. It says city so clean you wouldn't mind eating off the floor. So that's a pretty good mayor. I would vote for a mayor like that. I would, right? So as for mayor, city so clean, yeah, sure, why not? Let's create another one. This is fun. Let's create another one. City is so clean it makes Singapore jealous. Well, that also works. Singapore is also reputed to be a very well cleaned, well maintained city, very pristine airport, beautiful parks, outdoors areas. So it has a reputation for that. So that's pretty good. And another one here: city so well managed, you would put Singapore to shame. You see that? I mean, it kind of pick up the vibes. We have things like, you know, hair so slick you could stand in the mirror all day, fries so good you can handle it, sunglasses so cool you would wear them indoor. Sunglasses, by the way, basically means shades. So if you're from the US or from the UK, sunglasses are shades. And country so corruption free. And here you have city so well managed, you put Singapore to shame. I like it. This is a campaign slogan that I could get behind. All right. So as for cars, it's also pretty hilarious. Cars so affordable, you could buy a new one every week. So it kind of pick up from our, you know, from from the team here that we want to be slightly outrageous with our claims, slightly boastful, but also in a very humorous way. I don't know if it's humorous. I'm not actually very good at humor. So, but at least this is kind of, all of this, by the way, I did not Google them. I did not copy them. These are all original ideas for myself, right? So these are all original jokes. And some of them are not so funny, you can tell. I mean, most of them are not so funny, but I didn't Google them. I didn't pick them up from somewhere and copy and paste them. All of this stuff are completely original. I think of it myself, right? Which is why it's probably very bland. Anyway, so if you don't want the training examples up here, you just have to set this to false and rerun it. I'm not going to do that anymore, but if you rerun it, then you won't have all the themes. You would just have this area, this ad slogan generator. You won't have all the examples up there. Alright, so I'm gonna push all of this onto GitHub. It's been really fun. But if you'd like to get a full example of this running on your machine, just go ahead and fork it. Just understand that there will be some variation and stuff. Add your own examples. I think I'm running out of time, so I'll leave you to go and experiment this on your own. Build something nice and tell me in the comment sections if you'd like to see more content, perhaps a more elaborate, more made from scratch kind of tutorial on GPT-3. If you have other ideas of what you'd like to see next, let me know in the comment section as well. So share this video to a friend who may be interested in this and definitely subscribe. Okay? I'll catch you in the next video.